Something subtle brought you here. Not curiosity, recognition. You felt it. A quiet pulse under your skin. Like something inside you finally matched a signal that's been calling for years. It happens in these strange moments, when a random video finds you, when a phrase makes your chest tighten, when you can't explain why your whole body whispers, "This is it." That's not coincidence. That's coherence beginning to form. You've been trying to change things by effort, by fixing habits, chasing goals, repeating affirmations that feel slightly hollow. You've tried being high vibe. You've tried being patient. And yet, there's still this invisible resistance, right? As if something keeps pulling your life back to the same repeating pattern. I want to tell you why. It's not because you're broken. It's because you've been operating on a frequency that isn't fully yours. Every person has a hidden harmonic, a precise vibration that belongs only to them. It's the signal that your future self uses to find you. But when you live through fear, tension, or survival mode, that harmonic gets buried under noise. The static of doubt, pressure, performance. This video is about decoding that signal, about the moment your true frequency wakes up and begins to rewrite the field around you. Because the truth is, once that resonance locks in, reality doesn't just respond to you, it reorganizes for you. And the moment you feel that shift, you'll know the real you has been transmitting all along. Let's look closer at this idea of a hidden frequency. Think of it less like sound waves and more like the energetic language your entire being is constantly speaking. Through thoughts, sensations, micro-expressions, posture, even the pauses between your breaths. This frequency is your signature code in the quantum field. It tells life how to read you, not through your words, but through your state of coherence. When that code is scrambled, when your mind says one thing, your body feels another, and your emotions are still orbiting old memories, the field receives mixed instructions. It can't locate the clear version of you. So what happens? You start manifesting partial reflections, half opportunities, almost moments. People who mirror back uncertainty, not alignment. But coherence, when your mind, heart, and nervous system pulse in the same rhythm, that's when your frequency broadcasts cleanly. And here's what's wild. You don't even have to force it. The quantum field is already tuned to receive you. The moment you return to coherence, it locks on instantly, like two notes finding harmonic resonance. You've probably felt flashes of it before. Those seconds of clarity after deep laughter, or a walk where the air itself feels like it's noticing you. In those instants, you're broadcasting your true signal. The key isn't to create the frequency. It's already encoded in you. The real art is remembering it. And that's where most people get lost, because they've been told the wrong story about manifestation. They've been told to chase outcomes instead of tuning to who they already are. But there's a hidden paradox here, one that turns the entire manifestation model inside out. Because what if the reason your desires haven't arrived yet is that they've been waiting for you to match the signal first? Let's unravel the myth. You've been taught that to manifest something, you have to want it enough, visualize harder, script more, repeat affirmations until they sink in. But wanting on its own often amplifies separation. When you want, you're telling the field, "I don't have it yet." Your frequency begins to hum and lack, in the small gap between who you are and who you think you should be. And because the field mirrors coherence, not words, it simply reflects that vibration right back. Here's what this looks like in daily life. You send a message, one that matters. Maybe it's a business pitch, a confession, or an invitation. Hours pass. Silence. Immediately, your body contracts. The mind races. Did I say too much? Did I sound desperate? What's really happening isn't punishment or rejection. It's resonance feedback. The silence itself is showing you the slight static in your signal. The part of you still broadcasting uncertainty. That moment isn't a failure, it's a mirror. Your hidden frequency is being tested, asking, will you collapse into the noise or hold your tone? Because the truth is, coherence isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about staying connected to the internal knowing that your worth doesn't depend on an external response. Every quantum alignment begins here, not by forcing the field, but by staying congruent when the field seems silent. That's how the signal sharpens. Notice this. The people who seem lucky or effortlessly magnetic aren't doing more rituals. They're simply broadcasting from wholeness instead of need. But how do you hold that coherence when your nervous system is screaming? When your body feels the threat of loss or rejection? That's where the real tuning begins, inside the physiology itself. And that's what we're about to unlock next. Here's what most people overlook. Your frequency isn't decided by your thoughts, it's stabilized by your nervous system. Every signal you send into the field passes through the language of your body. When your body doesn't feel safe, no affirmation can override that static. You can visualize light and abundance all you want, but if your heartbeat is whispering, "I'm not safe," the field listens to that. Think of your nervous system as the tuner between your inner world and the quantum field. If it's tight, trembling, or frozen, your transmission comes out distorted. But when it's grounded and open, coherence becomes effortless. Let's make this practical. Here's a 45-second micro practice, not to calm down, but to realign your broadcast. Right now, drop your shoulders. Let your jaw unclench. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 2, and exhale slowly for 6. Do it again. But this time, imagine your breath moving through the center of your chest, not your lungs, as if you're breathing through your heart. Notice the subtle shift, that slight warmth spreading in your chest, the slower tempo of your thoughts. That's coherence forming in real time. What you're doing here isn't relaxation, it's recalibration. Your heart begins sending smooth, rhythmic signals to the brain, which then tells the rest of your body, "We're safe to expand now." That safety allows energy and possibility to move again. Here's the pivot. Manifestation isn't a mental sport. It's an embodied frequency alignment. Your future self doesn't live in your head. It lives in your regulated nervous system. When you start to feel safe enough to receive, the field starts mirroring that safety back. Opportunities, people, and synchronicities begin to flow, not because they suddenly exist, but because you've tuned into the timeline where they already do. But this introduces a deeper question. If coherence feels so powerful, why can't we hold it consistently? The answer lies in what most people mistake for high vibration, and it's where identity quietly takes over the frequency. Let's be precise now. What you call your vibration isn't a temporary mood. It's the expression of who you believe yourself to be. That's why trying to stay high vibe never lasts. Because a state can fluctuate. It's momentary. But identity, that's the broadcast tower. It holds the frequency long enough for reality to organize around it. Here's the quiet trap. You can meditate, visualize, and journal every morning. But if deep down you still identify as the person who struggles, who's almost ready, who's still trying to heal, that identity sends the signal before any practice does. The field hears the truth beneath the ritual. You've felt this conflict before. Moments when you were doing everything right, but something inside still whispered, "It's not working." That's not failure. It's misalignment between the self you perform and the self you inhabit. Here's the pivot. Your energy doesn't respond to effort. It responds to recognition. When you remember who you already are, beyond fear, beyond the story of delay, your frequency snaps into place like a key entering its exact lock. Let's test this in real life. Next time you catch yourself chasing a feeling, maybe you're scrolling for validation or replaying a conversation you wish went differently, pause and ask, who am I being right now? Not what you're doing, but who is broadcasting this signal. Because manifestation isn't about maintaining a mood, it's about embodying a consistent identity that the quantum field can recognize and respond to. That's why temporary motivation fades so fast. It's built on a transient state. But identity reshapes timelines. And here's the part that most never see coming. Every identity carries its own timeline, an entire web of possibilities magnetically linked to it. When you shift identities, you don't just attract new things. You step into a completely different field of events. The versions of you that already have peace, abundance, love, they're not somewhere far away. They're right here, vibrating at slightly different harmonic layers, waiting for a match. So the question isn't how to manifest, it's which version of you is the field currently responding to? Because once you learn how to stabilize the frequency of your chosen self, timelines begin to collapse in ways that feel almost impossible. Every moment, infinite timelines run parallel, like invisible harmonics layered within one continuous song. You're not moving forward through time, you're tuning through versions of yourself that already exist. Each identity carries its own melody, its own magnetic map of events. The identity you inhabit now is simply the one whose frequency you're matching most consistently. Think of it like this. If you've ever changed jobs, relationships, or homes, you've noticed how your world subtly rearranges. The people you meet, the words you use, even the way you walk, all of it shifts. That wasn't random. You stepped into a new frequency field, and the timeline reorganized around your identity. Here's how this plays out in real life. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. 2 days before, your mind races with thoughts like, what if I mess up? What if I'm not enough? Your nervous system tightens, your tone changes, your body contracts. That identity, the one still proving itself, belongs to a timeline of rejection, stress, and almost. But then you do something different. The morning of the interview, you decide to breathe coherence into your body. You remember the identity of the version of you who already belongs there. You don't fake confidence, you become resonance. You speak slower, you listen deeper. You answer with ease because the field around you is reading your safety, not your words. That subtle shift in identity broadcasts a new signal, and that signal magnetically locks you to a timeline where you are chosen, not because you forced it, but because that outcome is natural for that identity. This is how the quantum field organizes. It doesn't deliver random luck, it mirrors frequency fidelity. And once you realize this, the whole game changes. Because now you can practice living from your chosen timeline, moment by moment, until the external world has no choice but to catch up. Here's a simple way to anchor it. Each morning, instead of asking, what do I need to do today? Ask, who am I broadcasting as today? Let your breath, your words, your small movements answer. The more you stabilize that frequency, the faster parallel realities begin to converge. But sustaining this requires more than awareness. It needs a daily protocol, a set of embodied anchors that pull you back to coherence when life gets loud. You've felt the resonance. You've glimpsed how identity selects the timeline. Now it's time to make that frequency stable, not just in your meditations, but in the raw rhythm of your day. Think of these next few practices as your frequency anchors. Simple, tangible ways to keep your broadcast coherent no matter what's happening externally. Tool 1. The breath lock. Several times a day, pause and draw one long inhale through your nose, slow enough that your ribs expand. Hold for 2 seconds, then exhale longer than the inhale. While you breathe out, silently think, I'm safe in this moment. This pattern tells the body that it's no longer in threat mode, instantly bringing the nervous system, your tuner, back into harmonic range. Tool 2. The future self posture. Posture is frequency. Every identity has a shape. Stand or sit the way your future self naturally would. Shoulders open, gaze steady, chest relaxed. Don't perform it. Let your body remember it. Hold that shape for at least 30 seconds while imagining energy rising from the base of your spine to your heart. You're not pretending confidence. You're letting the field read a new configuration of self. Tool 3. The emotional recode. Whenever discomfort appears, a text left unanswered, an unexpected bill, a silence that triggers the old story, place one hand on your chest and say quietly, this sensation is energy returning home. Feel it move without labeling it bad. Emotion is motion, frequency trying to realign. The moment you allow it, coherence restores itself. Tool 4. The field check. Before speaking, posting, or deciding, ask, is this coming from contraction or coherence? If it's contraction, pause. If it's coherence, act. This single question keeps your transmission clean and magnetically efficient. These 4 micro tools don't require discipline. They require remembrance. Because every time you use one, the field recognizes the stability of your signal and synchronizes more precisely with you. Let's seal this with a small ritual, a way to declare to the field that your code has been activated. Type in the comments, I am broadcasting my true frequency. That single sentence isn't just engagement, it's calibration. Each word reinforces the harmonic you've reclaimed tonight. But even as your frequency strengthens, the mind will test it. It will try to pull you back into urgency, doubt, or over-control, the old sabotages that fragment the signal. And to navigate those traps, we need to name them, one by one. Now that your signal is stabilizing, something interesting tends to happen. Resistance rises, not because you're failing, but because the body and mind are recalibrating to a new identity, a new baseline frequency. Think of it like the static that appears when you're perfectly between stations, the system adjusting before it locks onto the next harmonic. There are 3 main saboteurs that can scatter your signal. They show up differently for everyone, but their purpose is the same, to test whether your coherence is real or conditional. The first is urgency, that tight, restless pull that says, I need it now, or it's slipping away. Urgency is the nervous system's echo of scarcity, a leftover signal from survival timelines. It convinces you that energy moves faster when you push harder, but the truth is the opposite. Urgency scrambles frequency. Here's the tactic. Whenever you feel that rush, whisper internally, "Nothing is late. I'm already in motion." Then slow one action. Typing, breathing, walking. That deliberate slowness tells the field you trust the timing, and trust magnetizes alignment faster than any push ever could. The second is the split signal. You say you want expansion, but half of you still vibrates in fear of losing control. You visualize abundance while holding guilt for wanting it. Split signals create frequency interference, like two songs playing at once. To dissolve this, pick one clear frequency each morning, one emotion that represents the version of you you're embodying. Maybe calm, maybe certainty, maybe joy. Then move through your day guarding that emotion like a steady tone. When fear or guilt arise, don't fight them, harmonize them. Breathe through the heart until they match your chosen emotion's rhythm. And the third, over-control. The attempt to manage every detail, people, outcomes, timing. Over-control is fear disguised as logic. It keeps your nervous system in micro-tension, signaling the field that you don't trust its intelligence. Here's the reframe. Control doesn't secure outcomes. It blocks the field's improvisation. Instead, practice small acts of surrender. Let an email go unanswered for an hour. Let a conversation unfold without rehearsing. Feel the discomfort, but keep breathing. That's your signal maturing. These three traps, urgency, split signals, and over-control, aren't enemies. They're frequency feedback, showing you where coherence isn't yet anchored. And when you can meet them with awareness, each one becomes an amplifier instead of an interruption. Because once you can stay coherent even inside the noise, daily life stops being a test. It becomes the practice ground where your frequency proves itself. And that's what we'll refine next. How to weave coherence into every ordinary moment until it becomes your natural baseline. Here's where most people slip. They treat coherence like a special state, something to reach for during meditation, or a quiet evening alone. But your true frequency doesn't just live in silence. It's expressed through the tiny, unconscious rhythms of your day. Every moment is a broadcast. Every gesture, thought, and tone is data the field receives. So integration isn't about doing more spiritual work. It's about transforming ordinary acts into frequency rituals. When you walk, notice the tempo of your steps. Are you rushing as if life is running ahead of you? Or are you walking from the timeline that already includes everything you desire? Slow down until your body feels the rhythm of sufficiency, the sense that there's nowhere to arrive because you're already there. That's coherence in motion. When you eat, don't scroll or plan. Bring awareness to the first bite. Feel the nourishment as a conversation between energy and matter, your frequency translating into form. This simple act anchors gratitude not as an idea, but as a biological signal. The field reads that grounded pleasure as abundance embodied. When you speak, listen for tone. Your words are vibrational instructions. If they carry tension, the field hears struggle. If they carry presence, the field hears readiness. Before responding to anyone, take one breath through your heart. Even a single heartbeat of awareness changes the entire trajectory of that interaction. And when you lie down at night, let your body remember that you are not the one making it happen. The field doesn't need managing, only matching. Fall asleep imagining your future self not as someone ahead of you, but as a frequency already humming softly inside your chest. This is how coherence becomes natural, not forced, not sacred, just lived. The secret of daily integration is that consistency builds identity. Each micro-action you perform from coherence reinforces the timeline of your higher self until it becomes the only station you can hear. But something else starts to happen here. A strange, beautiful expansion. When coherence stabilizes in your personal field, it begins to ripple outward. Relationships shift. Conversations open. Random synchronicities start orbiting you as if reality itself is leaning closer to listen. It's the moment your personal broadcast begins influencing the larger grid. And once you understand how that works, how your stabilized signal rewires relationships, creativity, and health, you realize you're not just manifesting outcomes anymore. You're shaping the architecture of your entire life. When your signal stabilizes, it doesn't stay contained within you. Your frequency becomes an organizing force, an invisible conductor that begins tuning everything it touches. The field doesn't separate your life into love, career, or health. It reads one unified vibration. That's why when you shift in one area, everything else subtly rearranges. Let's see how this unfolds. Relationships. When you hold coherence, the people around you start mirroring it, not by obedience, but by resonance. Maybe someone who used to drain your energy suddenly softens around you. Maybe a conversation that would have turned defensive now unfolds with ease. You're no longer transmitting "fix me" or "see me." You're broadcasting "I am whole," and that tone changes the field of connection. Relationships become collaborations instead of collisions. Creativity. You might notice ideas arriving like downloads, not forced, but fluid. That's because your nervous system isn't blocking flow with tension anymore. When coherence anchors, inspiration becomes a physiological event. It moves through you with the same clarity as breath. Artists, writers, and innovators who live in coherence aren't geniuses, they're tuned instruments. They've learned to let the field play through them without interference. Health. Your body is the densest part of your broadcast, and it responds instantly to harmony. Cells listen to coherence. When your thoughts and emotions synchronize, your biology stops bracing for impact. The immune system recalibrates. The breath deepens. You start craving what sustains you instead of what numbs you. This isn't discipline. It's resonance pulling you toward what matches vitality. Purpose. Here's where it gets profound. Purpose isn't something you chase. It's the natural direction of coherent energy. When your signal is clean, life begins to move you through intuitive nudges, sudden opportunities, and perfectly timed endings. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start hearing, "What wants to move through me now?" Let's ground this with one small, vivid moment. A woman sits in her parked car, hands trembling before sending an application for her dream project. Her old identity, the one built on hesitation, whispers, "You're not ready." But she remembers the breath, the posture, the tone. She exhales, feels her chest expand, and presses send, not from fear, but from coherence. That single action shifts her timeline. 2 days later, a message arrives. "We've been waiting for someone exactly like you." That's the field responding to a stabilized frequency. And the more you live this way, the more reality feels alive, interactive, intimate, impossibly precise. But to understand the full magnitude of this shift, we have to look beyond psychology or physiology. Because what you're really doing when you tune your frequency is remembering your original connection to the divine field itself. At some point, coherence stops feeling like a practice and starts feeling like remembrance. Because the deeper truth is this: you're not learning to create reality. You're remembering that you already are reality expressing itself. When the mind quiets, when the nervous system steadies, something ancient wakes up in you, a quiet knowing that everything has always been responding to your inner state, because everything is your inner state. The separation between me and the universe was only ever a temporary forgetting. This is where surrender becomes power. Because when you truly understand the nature of the field, you stop trying to dominate it and start collaborating with it. Surrender doesn't mean giving up control out of weakness. It means aligning so precisely with the intelligence of the field that you no longer need to manipulate outcomes. You let the current carry you because you are the current. Think of the moments in your life that felt divinely timed. The instant you met someone who changed everything. The opportunity that arrived the moment you released desperation. Those weren't coincidences. They were coherence events. The field revealing what happens when resistance dissolves. In this state, even challenges become signals, not punishments. A delay isn't a denial. It's recalibration. A rejection is a redirection to a frequency that matches your true trajectory. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start whispering, "What is this aligning in me?" There's a holy stillness here. A feeling that something infinitely intelligent is weaving through your choices, your breath, your timing. It's as if your personal song has merged with the universal symphony, no longer separate notes, but one continuous vibration. And the paradox is beautiful. The more you surrender, the more precise your power becomes, because the field can only amplify what's coherent. When you're in resistance, it mirrors chaos. When you're in surrender, it mirrors design. This is the quantum heart of manifestation. Not control, not striving, but resonance with divine orchestration. Your future self isn't waiting somewhere ahead. It's the divine impulse already pulsing inside you, guiding every coherent choice you make. And when you live like this, trusting the unseen pattern, following the small nudges, allowing the pauses, life begins to feel choreographed by something vast and intimate at once. It's the moment you stop trying to activate the code and realize the code has been singing through you all along. But before you close this transmission, there's one final piece: the resolution of the frequency itself, a moment to seal your new harmonic and call it fully into form. Let's do that now. Take one slow breath, feel it travel through your chest, your ribs, your spine, and imagine that with every exhale, the static clears. Underneath the noise, your true frequency is humming, the tone that belongs only to you. It's been there since the beginning, untouched by fear, untouched by failure. That sound, your hidden harmonic, is what the universe has been trying to hand back to you. Every delay, every silence, every so-called detour was the field whispering, "Can you hear it now? Can you trust your own tone? You've spent years trying to become magnetic, but the truth is, you already were. You just needed to remember your original broadcast, the one your future self has been transmitting toward you across time. Now imagine this, you standing in the center of your room, eyes closed. Around you, waves of light move like invisible music, shifting and shimmering as they recognize your signal. Each pulse of your heart sends out another note. And reality, sensitive, alive, aware, begins to retune itself around your presence. You don't need to force this alignment. You don't need to prove it. All that's required is to keep your frequency clean, coherent, true. Every breath you take, every thought you soften, every moment you choose safety over scarcity, tells the field, the real me is online. And from that moment forward, life stops feeling random. It becomes responsive. Your world starts speaking in synchronicities, in effortless timing, in the soft certainty that nothing real can miss you. Because the field doesn't respond to wanting, it responds to remembering. So, let this be your declaration, a small yet quantum gesture to seal what's just awakened in you. Write in the comments, "My true frequency is active." Type it like you mean it, not as wishful thinking, but as confirmation. Let the field register your tone. Let it echo back through every timeline you've ever touched. The code is activated, the signal is clear, and from this moment on, the real you is broadcasting.